This is the Voice Coach Podcast for all the tips and tricks on getting the most out of your speaking voice. I'm Nic Redman, and I'll be sharing everything you need to know to keep your voice healthy, sounding great, and working the way it should. If you're an actor, voiceover, speaker, presenter, or podcaster, you're in the right place. Hopefully it'll be a wee bit of crack too. Let's get started. Hi, voice pal. Hope you're keeping well. So this episode is very excitingly the start of our journey into breath for voice work. All together now. Let's have a wee breath out. It's nice. I think you'd be hard pushed to find a more favourite topic for most voice nuts, because ultimately voice is just breath. You can't have a voice without breath, but you can't have life without breath. So it's a very important topic for literally everybody. And in fact, actually, I don't know if you've noticed, but breath work and breath coaching is having a bit of a surge at the moment, which is great for all of us. A lot of the breath work that I'm seeing in the public domain is sort of focused on how crucial efficient use of the breath is for life in general. There are so many theories around how breath work can cure all sorts of things. Studies as well, things included, but obviously not limited to, your overall health and your mental health, including anxiety and stress. So I'll pop a few links to some books on breath and other podcasts on breath in the show notes, ones that I've been enjoying. But I find this all really interesting, obviously, because, what have I been chatting about as important to voice health in previous episodes? Overall health and mental health. So there is a connection there. I'm kind of at the same time overjoyed that there are other humans out there peddling the importance of breath work for our existence in the public space, but also a wee bit wary that, just in all fields, some will know what they're on about and some won't. So do your research and ask questions before you take everything out there as gospel. But of course, we're concerned with breath for voice. So over the next few eps, I'm going to take you through some explorations of certain elements of breath awareness, release, and support that aim to help you become in tune with how you're using your breath when you speak currently, to start with, and perhaps maybe noticing some areas where there might be room for becoming a wee bit more efficient and whatnot. As with all this work, I say this a lot, but approach it with curiosity and kindness, not from a place of judgment. I can tell, if you're listening to this, you're alive, which means your breath is working just fine. And I can assume that if you're listening to this, you're a speaker of some kind. So there's probably a lot that's happening with your breath that is just fine for voice. But as with all things and voice work, we can always find more and improve things a little. Some of the things I've seen in clients in terms of breath that needs a little work is people with interesting unnecessary holding patterns in the breath, people using more breath than you need really as well as one that comes up a lot. And of course, there's the classic, I can't get to the end of my sentences without running out of breath. So this is the first step to sort of thinking about exploring some improvements in those particular areas. So this episode is guidance through becoming a little more aware of the importance of the breath rhythm in a resting position, and to reconnect or even introduce you to the idea of the reflexive nature of the in-breath or the inhalation. The idea that we don't have to take an in-breath at all. The body does it for us. It's how it's designed. How great is that? Today isn't about the theory of breath or what it does when or what does what or muscles and all that stuff. We'll get to that as we need to. And we'll definitely, before you ask in your head, get to the nitty-gritty of the feckin' diaphragm. But for now, I just want you to throw everything you think you know about breath in the bin. Come at this from an open mind space. And this is about noticing, which is the first step really to breath work of any form and any kind of improvement. Okay, this is the bit where I say, come back later if you can't take 5 minutes of stillness, because that's what we need just to work through this exercise. But if you've got the time, crack on. All right, so I'd like you to find yourself in a comfy position, sitting, standing, lying, ideally, yes please. You have my permission to lie down for professional reasons. Well, that could sound a bit dodgy. For voice reasons. Great. Okay. So find yourself comfy, and for a few moments, I just want you to let the breath happen. That's all. Dead simple. So you're just going to let your breath come in And you're going to let your breath go out again. That's it. You're going to let an inhale happen, and you're going to let an exhale happen. And that's it. At whatever speed is right for you in this moment. Just as you breathe at rest. This is what we call tidal breath, the breath that keeps us alive. The inhale and the exhale during restful breathing. We're not doing huge big breaths in and huge sustained breaths out. We're just letting the breath wave in and pour out. Easy peasy. It comes in and it drops out again. Sighing it out is quite nice. Sighs of relief. So the breath just comes in, turns a corner on the inside of the body, and just falls back out again. Now I'm going to offer you 3 different patterns, and I'd like you to check in with yourself and notice which of these 3 you feel you recognise in your breath at the moment. So you're just, while I'm explaining these, just lying and letting the breath happen. And the first pattern is breath in, breath out, breath in, breath out, with no obvious pause or holding anywhere in that pattern. Do you have a breath coming in and a breath coming out, and then a breath coming back in and a breath coming back out, with no little pauses or gaps anywhere? The second is, do you have a breath in and then a hold and then a breath out, a breath in and then a hold and a breath out? So is there a little pause or a holding moment after the in-breath comes in? And the third is breath in, breath out, pause, breath in, breath out, pause, with a little moment after the out-breath has left the body. Just take a wee moment to notice which of those rhythms you feel is you right now, and I'll offer a tiny recap just while you're checking in. So the first one was breath in, breath out, with no pause or holding anywhere between the in or the out breath. Number 2 was a pause or hold after the in breath. So was that in breath, hold out, in breath, hold out. And the third was a pause after the out breath. In breath, pause. In breath, out breath, pause. So make a mental note of where you currently hang out. And what we're working with here, you can stop the breathing now if you want, or you can keep going. Just bring yourself back to consciousness if you like, nice and slowly. But what we're working with here, like I said, is this very instinctive resting breath. The breath our body knows exactly how to do, basically to keep us alive. And it is essentially a very passive breath as far as we're concerned cognitively, in the sense that it sort of happens for us, whether we like it or not. Otherwise, we die in our sleep. Well done, body. I mean, Jesus, we don't want to be having to tell ourselves every minute of every day, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. Should get nothing done. The in-breath can happen for us. Happy flipping days. And when you're working on breath for voice, it can really help to come back to this and essentially notice whether there's any part of this very instinctive process that we're sort of getting in the way of with our habitual tensions and patterns and holdings. Now, where we want to really be sitting at rest is in that third option. So we get a little moment of pause after the out breath has left the body. Why is that, Nick? Okay, teeny tiny theory moment. Your breath basically works on like a pressure system, a pressure exchange system. Now, Gillian Kayes and Jeremy Fisher describe this really well in their book, This is a Voice. So I'm going to narrate that passage for the sake of conciseness. So here we go. Where is it? Aha. The lungs themselves are passive, but the body's system works like a pressure pump to suck air inwards and gently squeeze it outwards. When we breathe in, we enlarge our lung volume, and the pressure of the air inside drops below the pressure of the air outside, which causes air to rush in to rebalance the pressure. When we breathe out, our lung volume is reduced as the air is pushed outwards until the cycle begins again. So what you're doing with that wee moment of pause after the out-breath is allowing your body time to go, oh look, there's an imbalance of pressure here on the inside and the outside. Let's pop some air in and find a nice equilibrium again. I.e., let's inhale. This person needs some air. Sort of like if I was trying to get an everyday image, if you know when you hold an empty bottle under the water and it fills with water, right? And if you squeeze all the water out of the bottle and then let go, the water comes rushing back in again. The bottle refills all by itself because the pressure inside the bottle is less than being exerted on the outside of the bottle. So the bottle sort of wants to even out that pressure. In this image, the water going into the bottle is like the air rushing back into the lungs. Once the air pressure drops inside the lungs, your body wants to refill it. So that's sort of what happens. That's kind of the primary school / kindergarten school level explanation of the idea for connecting with that totally involuntary reflexive in-breath, which is what I wanted to introduce you to today. It's the idea that the in-breath doesn't need to be taken. It doesn't have to be effortful. It can just happen if we know which bits of the the human self to release when, which is a wonderful and easy and freeing thing to connect with when you're starting to explore breath for voice work. Because ultimately when people focus on breath, they focus on how much air they take in. And we'll get to that and whether that's the right thing to think about in future episodes. But understanding that you can let that in-breath come in for you is a really, really important place to start when it comes to finding a free and responsive and supportive breath for voice work. Okay, I just want to credit a couple of things in this episode. That lovely image of the breath coming in and turning a corner and coming out again came from a dear voice coach pal, Jude McSpadden, when I observed her leading a warm-up one day, cheeky. And the breath rhythms exercise for awareness came from an accent method breathing training day I did with the brilliant Dane Chalfin. So, this week your task is to find some time each day to observe the wonder of your breath just at rest. Just before you go to sleep is a good time to do it. Or if you've had a busy day and you want 5 minutes on the floor, you absolutely have my permission. Okay, so there's some links to books and people mentioned in the show notes, as well as a few other interesting bits and bobs on voice. Please do share this podcast with anyone you think would be interested, and I shall be back very soon. And breathe. Thanks for listening to the Voice Coach podcast. To get the most out of your voice, come on over to our free community on Facebook, the Voice and Accent Hub. See you in there.